super simple principle and idea is not important. Just and also investing something that's already good enough before you think about creative.
Cute.
If you have centralized planning, that is, fewer people who are making the decisions about the economy as a whole, you have less information. If you have a decentralized economy, what you have are more people, more inputs, more kind of connection to the reality of what's happening than you would have if you have a small
So what validation in Buddhism means is that you have to critically analyze anything that the Buddha himself said. So in a way, as a Buddhist, you're a kind of block validator.
Did Eric Kim ever mention anything about decentralization?
Relive the Buddhist algorithm. Buddhism is really like an algorithm, a set of rules that the Buddha said, if you follow these, you will be happy and you will create a kind, benevolent, and fair society. And so that I find very parallel to the way that blockchain works.
John Stockton. What's on the beat? Oh, they not look good. 하늘이요. 하늘이요. 아빠 운동하고 있어요. 에? 운동해요. Air Kim Photography. Air Kim Photography. They're not like us. What's up? Yeah.
Man named Dana White, who you love, who I love. I assume you love.
Love that too.
I think he's a class by him.
He's probably the reason why you're here.
I don't know, maybe.
He's one of the big ones.
He is the greatest guy.
I love
You know,
him.
I always say, nobody's indispensable. You know, everybody can be replaced. Maybe you can't be. You might not be. But Dana White, truly, I don't think. You know, they sold it for $4 billion. I said, what the hell? Who the hell is going to pay $4 billion? And they made like a great deal. I mean,
it's worth a
because
lot
of
more
him.
than that now.
Take him
Yeah.
out, I think it's a whole different.
No,
ballgame.
he's
But
the best
and he's also
promoter of all
the
time.
greatest guy. He spoke at the whole thing with, you know, I had just been shot, and he got up and he spoke so better than anybody. I mean, who would be better to introduce you? I asked of all the people, and I know the biggest people in the world, and they all would have loved to have done it. I said, Dana, would you do it? You know, it was interesting. He was away. And he said to the people that, you know, one of my guys called me and said, I won't be able to do it. She had just left with my wife and family. I won't. I said, he said, no, yeah. He's a little surprised, even though I knew he was, you know, and he deserved it with his family, you know, the whole thing. And then I said, all right, let's, and so we're looking who we're going to get. And all of a sudden she comes in, Sir Dana White just said he's going to do it, and he's coming back in tonight. He's taking it. You know, the guy is just an incredible guy, and he's like a tough champion, but loyal. Yeah, he's got to be one of your favorite people. He's one of my favorite
I love him
people.
to death. I've
Yeah.
been friends with him for 23 years. I love him.
So would you have, because what you're doing here is incredible. I mean, everybody tells me, all I know is today I'm going, you know, you're on Joe Rogan's thing. People are telling me, like, I said, how the hell do you know that? But it's sort of, what you've done here is amazing. Where would you be if you didn't do the UFC stuff? Would you have this show, do you think?
Yeah, I would still be doing it for sure. Yeah.
Would
I mean,
it
I
be
was
at the
doing
same? Would it be at the same level?
I don't know.
But you would have.
It's hard to know. I think, one of the things that works for this show, I guess, is that I'm involved in so many different things. Stand-up comedy, UFC, and all the interests that I have that lead to the podcast.
Will you always want to do you? First of all, you love UFC.
I love it, yeah.
You love the fights. I mean, I watch
yeah.
you. You are loving it. They could pay you nothing. It'd be very.
They didn't pay me anything for the first 13 shows. I did it for free because they were hemorrhaging money. And I became friends with Dana, and my position was, you're going to give me the best seat in the house. I get to sit cage side for the fights. I'll do it, and I wanted to help. I was like, I think these are the guys that we had always hoped for. In the
he's an
early days of the
amazing guy.
sport, I started working for the company in 1997. I was before the UFC was purchased by Zuffa, which Dana worked
wow,
for.
wow.
So I was a part of the previous owners. And I only did it for a couple of years. It was just too much, and I was losing money. And it was banned from cable because of Budweiser and John McCain, and you could only get it on
Right.
DirecTV.
And then I came along and I gave him the
you
sites.
did, and he loves
And he
you for
never
that.
forgot it.
He loves you for that. He talks about it all the time.
Just to interrupt you for one second. So they couldn't get a site because it was too dangerous,
Right.
and everybody was against it, and they couldn't get a license. And I gave him the first 2 or 3 sites.
Yep.
And they were great. And by the way, I went to the first fight. I said, I never saw anything like this. It was crazy. It was so good. Take the best fight you've ever seen. It was like
Yeah.
that fight, right? It was so good that I gave it to him again, and all of a sudden it caught on. But when I wasn't in vogue, I've had time. You probably never had a time, but I had times when I wasn't exactly in vogue. Dana, they called him. He said, he's the greatest guy. There's nobody like him. He said, I'll never say anything bad about that guy because when I needed, because they were having a hard time at the beginning. They almost pulled the plug a couple of times, right? He said he stood up and he gave us stuff that nobody else gave us and nobody wanted anything to do. And he said, I will never, and there was a time where it would have been very popular for him to say bad stuff about me. He said the greatest stuff about me. He said, you're going to try and get me to say bad stuff about Trump? I'm never doing it.
No,
So
he's a very,
he's
very,
an
very
unusual
loyal guy.
He's a fantastic guy.
A perfect guy to be at the helm of something so controversial as the UFC.
Less controversial now. I mean,
Well, now it's huge. Yeah. Well, this was always the thing that I would hope that it would be. I always knew that it was unbelievably entertaining, but I just didn't know if maybe I was crazy. Maybe I loved it because I've had this long history of being involved in martial arts, and maybe like other people just think it's too violent. But
can boxing make it?
yeah, boxing's still a great sport. I love boxing.
But it seems to be so unimportant now by comparison to UFC, don't you think?
I think, well, Dana is working with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They're going to start promoting boxing now. And with Dana at the helm of it, I think boxing can return because the thing is they want to make fights that other people, maybe, promoters don't want to make because they want to protect their fighter. Controversial fights where, it's dangerous. Like, you don't know, this guy could lose. And so the Saudis, they're smart. They just offer a tremendous amount of money, and they're putting together fights that no one else can put together. They're doing that in boxing.
If Dana's involved, he'll probably make it good. The amazing thing, in fighting, no UFC fighter, they say, has ever died. And it looks
No.
to me much more violent than boxing. Many boxers have died. Isn't it interesting? And
It-
Dana tells me because they take so many shots to the face.
Yes, and there's also no other options to preserve yourself, to protect yourself. So if you get hit in a UFC fight, you can clinch. You can try to take the fight to the ground. You get
Yes,
options.
yeah.
Also, you don't get allowed to get knocked down and then get back up. When you get knocked down, you're concussed. And generally, if a guy's really hurt, they can be finished on the ground and the fight's over. If it's boxing, you have 10 seconds to get up. You get up, your head kind of clears, but you're still in real bad trouble, and you can kind of run away and survive until the bell rings.
Yeah.
They're only 3-minute rounds, and then you start again. So you're getting repeated punishment to the head.
Yeah.
And then there's also the issue of guys weight cutting, which is a problem with the UFC as well. But weight cutting in boxing has led to, if you look at deaths in boxing, there's very few of them in the heavyweight division. Most of the deaths in boxing are the lighter weight divisions because when guys dehydrate themselves to lose weight, to make weight, their brain is the last thing that gets rehydrated. Like, it's very difficult to completely hydrate your brain quickly. And you only have 24 hours between the weigh-in and the fight, and it used to be the weigh-ins were the day of the fight. Like when Boom Boom Mancini had a fight with Duk-Koo Kim and killed him in the ring, which is one of the last ones on television that we've seen.
That's right.
That was a crazy event for people and heartbreaking, and it led to a bunch of different changes. And one of them is day before weigh-ins to allow people to rehydrate better, and the other one is they dropped it from 15 rounds down to 12.
Which look, they should do that. You know, I'm not the fighter, so, but those 15-round fights were unbelievable.
They were unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, you go
In
back to
terms
the
of-
golden age.
Yeah, in terms of entertainment,
Oh yeah.
those were the championship reps. Those were the greatest.
Fucking Kugel Hercules.